Hello students, today we are going to read this poem, No Men Are Foreign. This poem is written by James Kirkup. James Kirkup was an English poet, translator and a travel writer, and he wrote over 30 books including autobiographies, novels and plays. The poem with title No Men Are Foreign, it actually promotes the concept of universal brotherhood. No men are foreign means that no men belong to another country. The poet wants to say that all men are same, all men are equal. He wants to promote the thought of universal brotherhood without any prejudice. Prejudice means pre-notions, pre-opinions. And thus, he stresses on the futility, the uselessness of distinction based on caste, creed, color, and nationality. In this poem, he wants to tell us that everyone in this world is same. All people, all men are same. They eat, live, die the same way. Everyone gets the bounties of nature like the sunshine, air, water, land, etc. in equal measure. That is to say, we depend on the same resources for survival and are governed by same human emotions. So no men are foreign and no country is strange. Thus we can say that it is an anti-war poem, a peace poem. So let's read the poem and understand the poem stanza-wise. In the first stanza, the poet says, remember, no men are strange, no countries foreign. Beneath all uniform, a single body breathes, like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this, in which we all shall lie. In the first line, the poet says that no men are strange. Strange means unfamiliar or unknown, that there are no strangers on this earth, and no country is foreign. Foreign means of other land belonging to another country. We might be separated by boundaries, nationalities, language, etc. But we must realize that we are all children of the same God. Human race is one, and it is wrong to call people strange. Thus, the poet, what he is trying to attempt? He is attempting to remove the borders from the earth, which have been erected to separate different countries. He says, then only no country will be foreign. We will feel every country as our own land when there will be no borders. Everyone will be free to move around. Thus, he says that the entire earth is one and all the people who live on this earth belong to one human race. And he says, thus calling a piece of land as strange is also wrong. Beneath all uniforms. Here, with the word uniform, the poet is not only just talking about the uniforms worn by the soldiers, he is also referring to the clothes worn by different people of different countries. He also talks about the skin, the different colors of skin. He says that under these uniforms, the human being is the same. He says God has made us all in a similar way. Thus, we all breathe in the same way. So, beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes. Then he says that all the soldiers are our brothers. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this, in which we all shall lie. So he says that we walk upon the same mother earth, and upon our death we will lie in the grave in the same earth, just as the others do. So he says, when there is no difference, then why we hate others? We should not hate others. We should not develop hatred or enmity in our hearts and thus promote brotherhood. In the second stanza, the poet says, they, too aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvests, by war's long winter starved. Their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. So, in this stanza, who are they? They refers to those people who belong to other countries. We call them foreigners and discriminate them and fight with them also. The poet says that nature has given all the bounties to all the people, just like he has given to us. Everyone gets sunlight, air, and water in equal measure, which means that God does not differentiate between people from different countries. So he says, all the people on this earth, they are aware, they are conscious of the sun, air, water. They are blessed with all these bounties of nature in the similar way as we all do, and are fed by peaceful harvest. See the word peaceful harvest. Here, poet is saying that it does not refer to the harvest which is peaceful. Here, it refers to peaceful social and political conditions that prevent the shortage of crops. So, thus, during the time of peace, when there is no war, then the people they live a comfortable, relaxed life, and they eat things given by the nature. So people they have a comfortable life, they enjoy the bounties of nature, there is no shortage of food. But by war's long winter starved. Here, the poet he further adds that the way we starve during war is here compared to winter. So as winter time is the same for those belonging to other countries also. He says that whether there is winter or there is war, people they starve due to shortage of food. So he says even the foreigners they don't get food at the time of war or long winter season. So he wants to say that foreigners who belong to another country and we both are same. Then why hate others? Then the poet says, their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. So here he talks about their hands. So he says that if you read the lines which is in their hands, it might be different. It may be different from one or the other, but the hands they look similar. And he says that the hard work done by us is just like the hard work done by them too. So there is no difference the way we do the hard work. They are also very hardworking people. So he's giving example of all these to convey to the reader that there is no difference in us and the people belonging to another country. So similar way, their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor means the hard work which is not different from our own. They are also hardworking people, just like we are. And that's why he says, remember, they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep, and strength that can be won by love. In every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. The poet asks the reader to remember something. He says that we should keep in mind that people of another country, whom we think to be our enemies, have also been bestowed by God with similar appearances like us. God has given them eyes like ours, which open when awake and close when we are asleep. Similarly, he says, he has given them strength. So, strength that can be won by love. He's not just talking about the strength, not physical, but materialistic strength of arms and ammunition also. And he says, we can win people only through love. With strength, you can win territories, rule over the minds, or make people slave. But when it comes to winning hearts, it can be only done through love. So you cannot win people by strength, whether it is physical or the materialistic strength. If you want to win people, then win them with your love, affection, and the feelings of brotherhood. And thus he says, in every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. That means in every country, in every land, there is one common thing that is life. And it has, if you see deeply, you will recognize the common patterns of life. The life common here means the common pattern of life, the way people live. It is quite similar to the way of people of different countries. And if we can understand their feelings and realize that they are like us, then there will be no fights or war between us. They also live in the similar manner the way we live. We wake up in the morning, we do the hard work, and we sleep at night. So there is a common pattern in life. They also do hard labor to earn their livelihood. And if we can observe these common patterns of life, we'll see that there is no difference between us. And thus, there will be no hatred then, there will be no enmity then, and thus we will understand that we are all brothers. In the next stanza, the poet says, let us remember whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other, it is the human earth that we defile. Dispossess, it means dislodge or deprive of. Betray, it means to cheat, to deceive. Condemn means to criticize. So the poet says that we should remember that whenever someone tells us to hate a person from another country, to think him as our enemy, and whenever we think this way, that someone is our enemy, then what happens? Then we deprive ourselves of love, affection, care, the feeling of brotherhood. And then we cheat ourselves, we deceive ourselves, and we condemn or criticize ourselves. So, with the feeling of hatred, with the feeling of enmity, what we do, we not only harm others, but we also harm ourselves. So there are evil people who will always try to misguide us for their selfish motives and interests. And the poet says that we should stay away from such negativity. We should not consider anyone to be our enemy. During a war, both the parties bear the loss. And that is why the poet says that war is not in our favor. So he says, remember, we who take arms against each other, it is the human earth that we defile. So he says, whenever we pick any weapon against someone, we should remember one thing. It is the human earth that we defile. Our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no countries strange. So, The poet says we should keep in mind that whenever we pick weapons against any person, any country, we make the earth dirty. Because weapons, they not only kill people, but it leads to a lot of bloodshed, fire, death, pollution. This destruction on the earth makes it impure. It pollutes the earth. The fire of war which erupts, the smoke which comes out, the dust which fills the air, it is so dirty that it pollutes the environment of the earth. It outrages the purity of the earth. Outrage means uh, creating or violating the purity of, creating excessive violation and pollution. So violence and pollution, sorry. So thus he says that when there is excessive violence, when there is excessive war, and thus what happens, it outrages the purity of the atmosphere, it destroys the purity of the atmosphere. And with all these things, the poet wants us to give us a message that we should not indulge in war. Finally, in the ending lines of the poem, the poet reverses the usage of the word foreign and strange. If you notice, in the first line of the poem, the poet says, "No men are strange and no country is foreign." And in the final ending, concluding lines, the poet says that no men are foreign and no country is strange. So he says that no men belong to any other country. We are the children of God who live on the same earth, same mother earth, and no country is strange. No country is unfamiliar or unknown to us. And thus he says that we should not hate each other. We should not wage war because it is not in favor of mankind. And thus he ends the poem by again compelling the readers to understand the importance of the brotherhood. This is all about the explanation of the poem, No Men Are Foreign. So, talking about the theme of the poem, basically, the poet has highlighted the importance of universal brotherhood. He wants to promote the concept, the thought of universal brotherhood, and only this way peace is going to be there on this earth, and people can live a comfortable life in peace, and prosperity will prevail. So, the poem No Men Are Foreign is all about human beings. The poet tells us that all human beings on earth are brothers and are the same. He stresses on the futility of distinction based on caste, creed, color, and nationality. And thus he reminds us that the man made differences are senseless and we must bring down the walls that separate nations and people. Under every uniform is the same human body, same feelings and same experiences. So he gives a lot of examples to show that how we all are same, we are alike, there is no difference between us. So he says when we wage war against others, we only end up by killing the innocent people. He tells us that all of us need sun, air, water, clothes to cover the same kind of body. All walk on the same kind of land. All are fed by the harvest, and after death, all are buried in the same land. We do the same work. All of us on earth sleep and wake up, love and want to be loved. So it is the human beings who hate others when they are provoked by others to take wrong paths. And thus we defile the earth when we start hating others. We all live on by hating and fighting with one another. It is we who pollute the air that we breathe to serve our purpose, to serve selfish motive, and without taking into consideration its bad impact on other people. So when we are hating ourselves, when we are criticizing others, when we are hating others, we must see that we all are actually destroying the purity of this earth. We are actually causing destruction not only to the people but also to this Mother Earth. So he ends up by saying that we need to stop and reflect on the destruction caused. We need to think upon the destruction caused and take some measures, take some preventive steps to promote brotherhood, to promote peace, so that humanity will prosper. Humanity will live safely on this Mother Earth. And this is where the poet ends his poem. Now let's quickly discuss some poetic devices. Rhyme scheme, the entire poem is written in free verse. There is no versification in the poem as there is no rhyme scheme. So it is written in free verse. The poetic devices are: the first one, alliteration, when a consonant sound is repeated. In stanza 1, when we read body breathes, here b sound is repeated. In stanza 2, was long winter starved, again the w, the w sound is repeated here. So these two alliterations are there. Metaphor, when there is direct comparison between two things. In stanza 1, we find where the poet says, beneath all uniform, where with the uniform of the military different countries, he compares not only the uniforms worn by soldiers, he also talks about the clothes worn by people, he also talks about the different skin color. Then in second stanza, was time is compared to winter season when he says was winter starved. So here war is compared to winter, that just in the winter season, just the way there is shortage of food, similar is the case when a country is at war. So war is compared to winter season. Then there is repetition as throughout the poem. Remember word is repeated 5 times in the poem. And the last one is the simile. Simile is also a comparative poetic device where we find the usage of the word like or as. It can be easily identified, and the simile used here is a single body breathes like ours. This is about the poetic devices used in the poem No Men Are Foreign. So hope the poem is clear to you all students. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.